The emergency beacon from Europa mining colony pulsed through space, its message simple yet chilling. They're in the shadows. They're everywhere. God help us. Captain Diana Frost stood on the bridge of the U.S. Harbinger, her eyes fixed on Europa's icy surface below. The colony's lights, usually visible even from orbit, had gone dark. Beside her, Lieutenant James Rodriguez checked the thermal scanners again, his dark features illuminated by the blue glow of the console. Still nothing, Captain. No heat signatures, no power readings. It's like everyone just vanished. Diana's jaw tightened. 3,000 colonists didn't just disappear. Status of Echo 7. Teams prepped and ready in the drop bay, Rodriguez replied. Lieutenant Way's running final checks on the new thermal suits. The colony had gone silent exactly 48 hours ago. The first rescue ship, the U.S. Mercy, had disappeared without a trace 12 hours later. Now, as the Harbinger held position above Europa's northern hemisphere, Diana couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. All Echo 7 personnel, report to drop bay. She announced over the comm, this is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. In the drop bay, Lieutenant Kira Way was checking her team's gear one last time. The veteran tech specialist had survived 3 deep space incidents, but something about this mission felt different. Wrong. Beside her, Sergeant Marcus Tank Thompson, the team's heavy weapons expert, loaded his pulse rifle with practiced precision. Got that feeling again, LT? Tank asked, noticing Way's expression. Yeah, like we're walking into a trap. The dropship's engines hummed to life as Echo 7 boarded. 8 of Earth's best Special Forces operators, trained for the unexpected. They were about to discover that nothing could have prepared them for what awaited below. The descent through Europa's thin atmosphere was smooth, too smooth. No interference, no problems. They landed half a kilometer from the colony's main dome, the massive structure now a dark silhouette against the icy landscape. Movement. Private First Class Olivia Chen called out, her biometric scanner pinging. Multiple signatures, not human. There, fast. Before anyone could respond, something massive crashed into the dropship's hull. The metal screamed as claws, actual claws, tore through the reinforced titanium like paper. Contact! Tank shouted, opening fire at a shadow that moved too quickly to track. His pulse rounds illuminated the darkness for split seconds, revealing glimpses of something impossible. Tall, armored figures with burning eyes and blade-like appendages. Fall back to defensive positions. Way ordered, deploying her combat drones. The small machines barely had time to activate their scanning protocols before they were torn apart by invisible forces. That's when they heard it, a sound that would haunt their nightmares for years to come. Not a roar, not a screech, but a laugh. Deep, resonant, amused. These weren't mindless beasts. They were hunters, and they were enjoying themselves. Captain Frost's voice crackled over the comm. Echo 7, massive energy spike above your position. Get out of there now. Too late. The hunters revealed themselves, decloaking like liquid shadows solidifying into nightmare forms. 3 meters tall, covered in bioorganic armor that seemed to absorb light itself, with faces that reminded Way of ancient samurai masks crossed with predatory insects. The leader stepped forward, its movements unnaturally graceful for its size. When it spoke, its voice was like gravel over steel, somehow perfectly understandable despite its alien origin. You were the first to fight back. Good. It has been too long since we had worthy prey. Way raised her weapon, knowing it was probably useless. Where are the colonists? The hunter's mask split into what might have been a smile. Gone. Their fear was disappointing. But you smell of courage, of defiance. Perhaps humanity will provide better sport. Tank's response was a barrage of pulse fire, the rounds actually managing to stagger the creature. Sport this, you ugly owl. The battle erupted in seconds. Echo 7 fought with everything they had, their training and technology meeting ancient hunting prowess. For every wound they inflicted, the hunters seemed to grow more excited, more engaged. Way managed to tag one with a tracking device just before the order came to retreat. As they fell back to their secondary drop ship, she realized with horror that the hunters were letting them escape. This wasn't a victory, it was part of their game. Back on the Harbinger, Captain Frost received Way's preliminary report with grim determination. The tracking data revealed something worse than they imagined. The hunter's ship was massive, ancient, and there were more of them. Many more. They call themselves the Nexari, Way explained, her voice hollow. They've been hunting species across the galaxy for millennia. And now they found us. Frost stared at the tactical display, watching as more Nexari ships emerged from stealth at the edge of the solar system. Give me Earth Command. Priority Alpha. As the Harbinger broke orbit, racing to warn Earth, the hunters watched with anticipation. After eons of disappointingly easy prey, they had finally found a species that might prove entertaining. The great hunt was about to begin. But they had made one crucial mistake. Humans weren't just prey that fought back. They were predators too. And now they had been awakened. The United Earth Defense Council chamber was silent as the holographic footage from Europa played. Dr. Ruji Nakamura, head of Advanced Weapons Research, watched the Nexari tear through reinforced walls like paper. Beside him, General Victoria Hayes' face remained stoic, but her knuckles were white as she gripped the table's edge. 3,000 colonists, Hayes said quietly. Not killed, not captured, harvested, for sport. Ruji adjusted his glasses, his augmented reality display analyzing every frame of the battle. Their technology is extraordinary. The way their armor absorbs energy, their cloaking systems, it's beyond anything we've theorized. Can we fight them? Hayes asked. Ruji's lips curved into a slight smile. Better. We can beat them at their own game. Deep beneath the Olympus Mons research facility on Mars, Project Phantom was already underway. The experimental ship hung in its massive construction bay like a predatory fish, its hull composed of dark matter alloy that bent light around its surface. Chief Engineer Zara Patel stood on the observation deck, watching her creation come to life. The Phantom Blade, she explained to the newly arrived Echo 17. First of her kind. Designed not just to hide from the Nexari, but to hunt them. Lieutenant Wei ran her hand along the ship's hull, feeling the strange way it seemed to resist touch itself. How did you build this so fast? We didn't, Zara admitted. We've been preparing for something like this for decades. Humanity's dark little secret, we always knew we weren't alone. We just didn't know who would find us first. The facility shook as another Nexari raid hit the Martian defense grid. They had been probing Earth's defenses for weeks now, testing, learning, playing. In his private lab, Ruji worked furiously with his team. The captured Nexari technology from Europa had provided crucial insights. Lieutenant Rodriguez, now assigned as military liaison to the science division, watched in amazement as Ruji activated the prototype. We reversed their own tech, Ruji explained, lifting what looked like a modified pulse rifle. Their armor absorbs energy? Fine. These rounds phase shift at the point of impact. Can't absorb what isn't fully in this dimension. How do we know it works? Rodriguez asked. The answer came sooner than expected. Alarms blared throughout the facility. A Nexari hunting party had breached the outer defenses. Security teams to all sections. Hayes' voice commanded over the comm, evacuate all non-essential personnel. This is not a drill. In the main corridor, Sergeant Tank Thompson and his new heavy weapons squad took position. They could hear the hunters coming, that same chilling laugh echoing through the halls. Remember your training, Tank growled to his team. They want to play? Let's play. The first Nexari burst through the reinforced doors, expecting easy prey. Instead, they met a barrage of phase-shifted rounds that actually penetrated their armor. For the first time, the hunters screamed in pain rather than pleasure. In the ship bay, Wei and Zara rushed to get the Phantom Blade online. A massive hunter crashed through the ceiling, landing on the ship's hull. But before it could strike, the ship's defensive systems activated. Dark energy tendrils that wrapped around the creature like living shadows. That's impossible, the hunter growled in its gravelly voice. This is our technology. Improved, Zara corrected, as Wei put a phase round through its head. The battle for the facility lasted hours. When it was over, 17 Nexari lay dead, with only 5 human casualties. An unprecedented victory. But in orbit, watching through their advanced sensors, the greater Nexari fleet was not angry. They were excited. Finally, prey that could fight back. That could innovate. That could kill. On the Nexari command ship, Huntmaster Vorkath received a transmission from powers even older and deadlier than his own species. The humans adapt quickly, the ancient voice observed. They turn our weapons against us. Yes, Vorkath replied, his mandibles clicking in anticipation. They will make excellent sport. But they are not the only ones who can adapt. Deep in interstellar space, vast armadas of other hunting species receive the call. The Drachnid, the Shadestalkers, the Void Princes, all of them turning their eyes toward Earth. Humanity had proven worthy of the great game. Back on Mars, as the Phantom Blade underwent its final preparations, Captain Frost addressed her expanded team. The ship's neural interface hummed as it synchronized with her thoughts. They think this is a game, she said, her voice hard. They think we're prey that learned to bite back. But they're wrong. We're not playing their game anymore. We're changing the rules. Ruji's labs were already developing more weapons, each deadlier than the last. Hayes was coordinating a unified Earth defense strategy. And in the shadows of space, the Phantom Blade waited for its first real hunt. The Nexari had awakened humanity's darker nature, our capacity for violence and cunning that had lain dormant in an age of peace. Now, those ancient instincts were combining with our most advanced technology, creating something the galaxy's apex predators had never faced before, prey that didn't just fight back, but fought to win. As the Phantom Blade launched on its first mission, its crew didn't feel like victims or survivors. They felt like what they had always been, what Earth had shaped them to be over millions of years of evolution. Predators. The hunters were about to become the hunted, and the game was just beginning. The Phantom Blade drifted silently through the debris field of what was once the Nexari's primary hunting fleet near Saturn. Captain Frost stood at the helm, her expression grim as she surveyed the aftermath of humanity's largest victory to date. But this triumph had come at a terrible cost. Final casualty report, Lieutenant Rodriguez said quietly. We lost 37 ships, including the U.S. Harbinger. Over 8,000 personnel. And the Nexari losses? Frost asked. 64 vessels confirmed destroyed. But Rodriguez hesitated. We're detecting quantum signatures. More coming. Different ones. A new alert flashed across the bridge screens. A ship was approaching. Not Nexari design. Something else entirely. Before anyone could react, a voice transmitted across all frequencies, speaking in perfect English. Humans, you have done what we thought impossible. We would speak with you. The vessel that emerged from stealth was elegant, almost crystalline in design. Its occupants called themselves the Kyrian, and they brought with them both hope and warning. On Earth, the newly formed Global Defense Initiative headquarters buzzed with activity. Director Jerome Baptiste, formerly the EU's top military strategist, stood before a wall of holographic displays showing battles across the solar system. The Kyrian ambassador, a tall, ethereal being named Venare, moved with liquid grace as she approached. Your species adapts remarkably fast, she observed. In mere months, you've achieved what took others centuries. We had good motivation, Baptiste replied dryly. Your intelligence has been invaluable. 3 major Nexari attacks thwarted this week alone. But you haven't just been defending, Venare noted. The raid on their supply lines in the Kuiper Belt. The destruction of their primary hunting fleet. You're hunting them. Damn right we are, came a new voice. Dr. Ruji Nakamura entered, accompanied by Chief Engineer Zara Patel. They carried what looked like a Nexari energy weapon, but heavily modified. Kyrian phase shift technology combined with our reverse-engineered Nexari weapons, Zara explained. We're calling it Project Eclipse. Every shot disrupts their neural networks, turns their own bloodlust against them. In the Mars training facilities, Sergeant Tank Thompson worked with a mixed unit of human and Kyrian soldiers. The aliens moved like liquid mercury, their natural stealth abilities complementing human tactical strength. They think in patterns, Tank explained to his squad. Centuries of hunting made them predictable. That's their weakness. We're not prey that learn to fight. We're soldiers who learn to hunt. The Kyrian combat instructor, Van, demonstrated their species' unique ability to perceive quantum variations. The hunters rely on their technology. We see the energy itself. Together, we can track them anywhere. But the hunters were far from defeated. In deep space, the Nexari hunt master Vorkath met with representatives of other predator species. The crystalline drachnid, the shadow-walking void princes, the viral swarm kings. Each had come to join what they saw as the greatest hunt in millennia. The humans turn our own methods against us, a void prince hissed. They learn, adapt, evolve. Good, Vorkath growled. Finally, prey worthy of the ancient protocols. Back on the Phantom Blade, now upgraded with Kyrian tech, Captain Frost received the intelligence report with growing concern. The ship's quantum sensors, tied directly to her neural interface, painted a frightening picture of what was coming. They're gathering, she told her crew. Every hunting species in the galaxy. This isn't about sport anymore. It's about dominance. In his lab, Ruji made a breakthrough that changed everything. Studying combined Nexari and Kyrian technology, he discovered something that both species had missed. The hunters weren't just killing for sport. They were harvesting something fundamental from their prey, quantum energy patterns unique to each species. It's not just a game, he explained to the GDI Council. They're collecting, building towards something. Each species they hunt adds to their power. The Kyrian confirmed his theory. We've seen signs, Venare admitted. Ancient structures, vast machines that feed on the essence of extinct races. But we never understood their true purpose. Director Baptiste authorized an unprecedented operation. The Phantom Blade, now joined by 3 Kyrian stealth cruisers, would penetrate deep into hunter space. Their mission, find the source of the hunter's power and destroy it. As the joint fleet prepared to depart, humanity faced its greatest transformation. The GDI had united Earth like never before. Kyrian technology merged with human innovation. Former enemies became allies against a common threat. In orbit, the Phantom Blade's crew prepared for what might be their final mission. Captain Frost stood on the bridge, watching Earth grow smaller behind them. Lieutenant Wei had modified their quantum drives with Kyrian crystals, making them virtually untraceable. We're not just fighting for survival anymore, Frost told her crew. We're fighting to change the very rules of the galaxy. The hunters thought they were gods. Time to show them they're not. The joint human-Kyrian fleet vanished into quantum space, leaving behind a solar system transformed by war. But they carried with them something the hunters had never expected, hope. Not just for humanity, but for every species that had ever been prey. The hunters had spent millennia perfecting their art, but they had never faced a species that refused to accept its role in their game. Humanity wasn't just surviving. It was rewriting the rules of evolution itself. And in the darkness between stars, ancient machines hummed with anticipation, waiting to reveal the true purpose of the great hunt. The quantum wake of the Phantom Blade rippled through dimensional space as it approached the coordinates the Kyrian intelligence had provided. Captain Frost watched the holographic display as it revealed their target, a massive structure floating in the void between galaxies, ancient beyond comprehension. The archive, Venare whispered, her crystalline form shimmering with anxiety. No prey species has ever seen it. Those who found it never returned. The structure defied physics, a twisted labyrinth of dark matter and living metal that seemed to fold in on itself infinitely. Around it orbited the combined fleets of every hunting species in the known galaxy, a deadly barrier of predators guarding their most sacred site. In the Phantom Blade's enhanced engineering bay, Dr. Ruji and Chief Engineer Zara worked frantically to integrate their latest breakthrough. The quantum core of their ship pulsed with combined human-Kyrian technology, but now they had added something new. Harvested Nexari biomatter. If we're right about this, Zara said, making final adjustments, we can mask ourselves as hunters. Not just hide, become them, as far as their sensors are concerned. Lieutenant Wei monitored the neural interface readings. The ship, it's adapting, learning, almost like it's alive. That's exactly what's happening, Ruji confirmed. The Hunter's technology isn't just advanced, it's evolutionary. And now, so is ours. The infiltration began with a desperate gamble. The Phantom Blade transmitted Hunter recognition codes stolen from the Saturn battle, while 3 Kyrian vessels launched a diversionary attack. As alarms blared across the Hunter fleet, the Phantom Blade slipped through their lines, its crew holding their breath. Inside the archive, reality itself seemed different. Gravity shifted unpredictably, corridors rearranged themselves, and time felt fluid. The infiltration team, led by Captain Frost and including Wei, Tank, and 2 Kyrian specialists, moved like ghosts through the impossible architecture. Multiple contacts, Wei whispered, her enhanced sensors picking up movement. But they're not attacking. They're watching. They found the first data core in what appeared to be an ancient observation chamber. As Ruji remotely accessed its contents through their quantum link, the truth began to unfold. The walls around them came alive with holographic records spanning millions of years. By all the stars, Venare breathed. This isn't just a trophy room. It's an experiment. The records showed countless civilizations, each discovered, tested, and harvested by the Hunters. But it wasn't random. Each species had been carefully selected, their responses to fear and violence documented with cold precision. The Hunters weren't just predators, they were cultivators. Look at these patterns, Ruji's voice came through their comms. The genetic markers, the technological development curves. They've been guiding evolution itself, breeding entire species for specific traits. Before they could process this revelation, a new presence made itself known. The chamber filled with a deep, resonant voice that seemed to come from the structure itself. Very good, children of Earth. You have exceeded all expectations. The air shimmered, and they found themselves facing something that defied description, a being of pure energy and ancient intelligence. It called itself the Architect, and it had been waiting for them. Your species, it said, its form shifting like liquid light, was seated in darkness, forged by predators, shaped by conflict. The Hunters were not your enemy, they were your final test. The truth hit them like a physical blow. Earth itself had been an experiment, humanity cultivated over millions of years through careful manipulation of our evolutionary path. The Hunters had been our unwitting gardeners, pruning and shaping us towards some incomprehensible goal. But the Architect had not expected one crucial factor: human unpredictability. You were meant to become the perfect predators, it explained, but instead, you became something more. You learned to cooperate, to ally with the Kyrian, to turn hunting into protection. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the archive. The Hunter fleets were turning on each other, ancient rivalries erupting into open warfare. The Architect's control was slipping. The experiment is contaminated, it declared. The protocols must be reset. That's when Captain Frost revealed their true purpose. While the Architect had been focused on them, Ruji and Zara had been working with the Kyrian to upload a virus into the archive's quantum network, a virus born from the combined DNA of humanity and their new allies. We're not your experiment anymore, Frost declared. We're your replacement. The virus spread through the archive's systems like wildfire, rewriting millions of years of careful manipulation. The structure began to tear itself apart, its impossible geometry collapsing into real space. Fall back, Tank shouted as reality buckled around them. Back to the ship, the team fought their way through disintegrating corridors as the Hunter fleets above descended into chaos. The Architect's final words followed them. You have broken the chain, but what you unleash may be worse than what you end. The Phantom Blade escaped just as the archive imploded, taking with it the center of the Hunter's power. But they had gained something invaluable, the truth about humanity's origin and the key to breaking the cycle of predator and prey. As they quantum jumped back toward Earth, Captain Frost knew this wasn't the end. The Hunters were scattered but not destroyed. The Architect's warning echoed in her mind. They had changed the rules of a game that had run for millions of years. But for the first time, the future was truly unpredictable. Humanity had broken free of its designed path, and now the galaxy faced something it had never seen before: true evolution, unconstrained by ancient protocols. The real question was, what would we become now that we were truly free? 1 year after the Archive's destruction, Earth had changed beyond recognition. Massive defense platforms bristled with hybrid human-Kyrian technology. Ships of former hunter species, now seeking asylum, dotted the orbit like fallen stars. In the ruins of the old GDI headquarters, a new council chamber had been built, the Galactic Covenant of Free Species. Director Baptiste stood before representatives from 27 former prey species, his voice carrying across the chamber. The hunters are gathering for one final assault. Not for sport, not for their corrupt evolution protocol, but for revenge. The holographic displays showed the reality they faced. The remaining hunter fleets had united under Vorkath, who had survived the Archive's destruction and now led a crusade to restore the old order. But this time, they faced something unprecedented, a united front of prey species, led by humanity. On the enhanced Phantom Blade, now flagship of the Combined Defense Fleet, Captain Frost reviewed the battle plans with her expanded crew. Lieutenant Wei had become their chief of hybrid operations, her neural interface now permanently modified with Kyrian crystals. Tank commanded a mixed-species strike force, combining human tactical expertise with alien abilities. "They're coming in through the Oort cloud," Wei reported, her cybernetic eyes tracking quantum disturbances. "Biggest fleet we've ever seen. But they're desperate, making mistakes." Dr. Ruji and Zara had transformed the ship's engineering bay into something that bordered on dimensional science. The quantum core they developed by studying the Archives remains pulsed with possibilities. The Hunter's power came from stability, Ruji explained to the War Council. Millions of years of controlled evolution. But we've introduced chaos into their system. Real evolution. Real change. The first shots of the final battle were fired in Neptune's orbit. The Hunter fleet emerged from quantum space like a storm of teeth and metal, their ships more organic than mechanical now. Vorkath's flagship, a twisted leviathan of living metal, led the charge. "All ships, execute Protocol Prometheus," Frost commanded. The combined fleet of former prey species moved with perfect coordination. Kyrian crystal ships flowed like liquid light. Human vessels unleashed weaponry that bent space itself. Even some reformed hunter ships, piloted by those who had rejected the old ways, joined the defense. In the midst of the chaos, the Phantom Blade enacted the real plan. While the main battle raged, they would strike at the heart of the Hunter's remaining power, their connection to the quantum network that had once bound them to the Archive. "Boarding teams, prepare for dimensional shift," Wei announced. Tank led the first wave onto Vorkath's flagship, his team a mix of human special forces and Kyrian shadow walkers. They encountered horrific resistance. Hunters who had cybernetically grafted themselves with ancient technology, becoming monstrous hybrids of flesh and machine. "They're devolving," Venare observed through the quantum link. Without the Archive to guide their evolution, they're losing themselves. The ship's corridors were a nightmare of organic technology gone wrong. But humanity had learned from the Archive. They understood now that evolution wasn't about becoming the perfect predator. It was about adaptation, cooperation, finding strength in diversity. Captain Frost led the second wave, fighting their way to the ship's core. There they found Vorkath, no longer recognizable as his original species. He had become a twisted mass of living metal and hunter flesh, directly connected to his ship's quantum core. "You think you've freed the galaxy," his voice boomed through neural channels. "You've only unleashed chaos. Without the protocols, without controlled evolution, everything will fall into disorder." "No," Frost replied, activating the device Ruji and Zara had built. "We're not unleashing chaos. We're unleashing choice." The device connected to the quantum network that still linked all hunter ships. But instead of destroying it, it transformed it. The same virus that had corrupted the archive now spread through the hunter's neural network, not to destroy, but to free. Across the battlefield, hunter ships stopped firing. Their crews, connected to the network, experienced something they had never known: true free will. The choice to be more than what the archive had designed them to be. Some fought against it, their ships exploding as they rejected the change. Others, including many of Vorkatha's own fleet, powered down their weapons. The Great Hunt was ending not with extinction, but with transformation. Vorkath himself fought to the end, his hybrid form lashing out with tentacles of living metal. But faced with the combined might of humanity's determination and Kyrian wisdom, he finally fell. In the aftermath, as the quantum network realigned itself, something remarkable happened. The Hunter's organic technology, freed from its original programming, began to evolve in new ways. Ships transformed, becoming bridges between dimensions rather than weapons of war. 1 month later, Captain Frost stood in the new Galactic Covenant chamber. The former hunter species who had chosen to change were being welcomed as equals. Earth had become a symbol not of prey becoming predator, but of breaking the cycle entirely. We were engineered to be the perfect hunters, she addressed the assembly. Instead, we became something the archive never expected: guardians. Protectors. Proof that evolution isn't about becoming the strongest predator, but about finding new ways to thrive together. The Phantom Blade, now transformed by its new quantum core, prepared for a different kind of mission. There were more secrets in the galaxy, more ancient protocols to unravel. But now they would face them not as hunters or prey, but as explorers. As the ship Quantum jumped into the unknown, carrying representatives of a dozen species, Captain Frost reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity had been created to be the ultimate predator, but we had evolved into something far more powerful, a species that could unite former enemies, that could turn the weapons of war into tools of peace. The hunt was over. The dawn of a new galaxy had begun. And this time, the rules would be written not by ancient machines or predatory protocols, but by all species, working together to forge a future no one could have predicted. The stars stretched before them, full not of hunters and prey, but of endless possibilities. And that, perhaps, was the greatest evolution of all.